Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed groups on Facebook for roadies, one called Death by Loadout and another called The Backstage Pass. With me tonight is my dear friend and ally, Kyle Thomas. How are you, Kyle?
Good, man. Another day, another dog biscuit, brother.
Oh, yeah. It's been a wacky day, has it not?
It has, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of been weird things floating in the air.
Yeah. So last week we had like the ultimate spaz fest, and this week has been a much more sedate.
Right, we didn't get the chance to play Beef Bologna. I think you're a little bit more timid.
That is a fear song for the audience. A fear song called Beef Bologna, which if you haven't heard, I swear, man, hear this song. It is it is an anthem of pure fun, and it's kind of like musical drugs. You know, I'm clean for I stopped counting at 20 years. I don't know, for a long time, but my God, that puts a spring in my step. I tell you what, I absolutely love that stuff. Listen, we got a package this week from our dear friend Charlie Zricki.
We sure did. What a gentleman!
Did you see that? The guy is such a badass, man.
Seriously, I'm gonna have a fun time rotting my teeth out. Mike thanks you as well.
Yeah. Between the kids are loving it, Charlie. They couldn't be happier. Oh, look, Parlene Ortiz Pino is checked in. Now she is an amazing woman. She's kind of keeps the whole ship running for Alcons North America, and I absolutely adore her. Thanks for checking in, sweetie.
Oh, thanks for
so
watching.
Good to see you. And my brother Jorge Aguado, that's George Edwards, wants to make sure we say hi to Jim for him.
Oh my God.
And of course, Scott Cheney. Last week I jumped out on Scott Cheney because I was like lit to the bejesus.
We love you, Scott.
Scott is so cool. My friend Jason Anselmo Martinez reached out to me and said, Scott bought a shirt, from the infirmities.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Scott and Jason Anselmo is also Mr. Hat. Mr. Hat Graphic Designs. The man's an amazing graphic designer.
Doesn't he just have like an album that's about to come out or just released?
Yeah. And it's really something. And he's an incredibly talented cat. So if you guys need any graphic work, reach out to Mr. Hat. Jason over there, he does amazing stuff.
Dude,
but thank you, Scott, for hooking up a brother like that. You're going to enjoy what comes from him. He's an amazing guy, and we appreciate Scott as a viewer and a friend. Thank you so much. And Susie, your girl's checking in, buddy.
Yeah, hey, how you doing, Susie? How are you?
I think she's in love, man. Right on. So, and what else happened to us good this week? Oh, we had My Heavy Memory in here last night, rocking and rolling right in this very spot. I think there was a drum set sitting where this disc was last night, and a bunch of rock gods playing guitar and doing their thing. We were capturing it on the Pro Tools and cameras and all that good stuff. Yeah, they're getting their groove on, and I think trying to come up with something so we can make a little live production thing, live streaming thing for them.
Yeah, we got 2 days. This is the second rehearsal we've done with them. We'll see how everything's going to be going. It's nice because we can hop on the version 7 software, the SXL, and kind of get used to it more comfortably in the shop before we kind of go out on the road. So.
Yeah, that's very, very logical. Also, I want to shout out to our good friend Patrick Einerman, one of the other guys that works with us. And I probably just butchered his last name. I'm sorry, Pat. But he reached out to us because we had a little something on our YouTube post that had the wrong date, and he reached out before the show, and that was very, very helpful. So thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Oh, check that. Now, look who's checking in, Robert Wilcox. Now, if you don't know who Robert Wilcox is, well, you've been living in a cave. He is one of the best monitor engineers. He's Vince Neil's monitor guy, and he gets it done.
Total legend. I've heard a lot about that.
He's kind of a badass, yeah. And I hope that Robert, you see me look into the camera and say that I'm coming for you, buddy. I would really love to have you on the show. So that's. But I'm doing some housework when I should be doing that.
He said, looking forward to my old pal Jimmy. Got a bus key.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. You're gonna have to.
I'm gonna ask Jimmy. I'm sure Jimmy and him have some inside stuff from touring many years. Matter of fact, let's just get to it. We try our best to get some amazing people in here. We get very, very lucky often, and tonight is just no exception.
You picked the nugget, my friend.
I know, just pure gold, baby. All right, let's do this thing. All right, rock and roll. Okay, guys. Hold on tight for this one. It's going to be good. Our guest tonight is one of the most accomplished mixing engineers in our business. He has mixed Van Halen, Journey, Aerosmith, Peter Frampton, Poison. The list is too long for me to go on. Extreme, just on and on. He's worked with some of the best guys in the game. He's written for Pro Sound Web. He's an author himself. We're going to talk about that. He's a teacher. He's an amazing, amazing guy. Please help me welcome the great Jim Yakabuski. Jim, how are you, brother?
I'm great, man.
That's
What an intro.
It's funny what I couldn't
Drop the
squeeze.
mic.
And you're right. It's what I couldn't fit in. You know, there's so much stuff there. It's incredible.
You missed Engelbert Humperdinck. Come on, man.
Jim. I didn't miss that.
Nobody missed
I lift that up for you, brother. So how have you been doing during this whole COVID nonsense?
Oh man, pretty well. It was a fair bit of shock at first. I've talked to so many people who said, "Man, I was going to have the best year of my touring life." I had so many gigs lined up, and then just in one big puff of smoke, it went away. And I think 2-3 months in, we all kept thinking, well, maybe a few more months, but no, I was lucky. My good friends at Allen and Heath sent me a little compact C1500D Live to play around with.
Oh, sweet.
So luckily I had toys during quarantine, because if I didn't have something to keep my mind active, I think I would have lost it.
That it's good to have friends. First of all, I think that's the point of that, and I'm glad that you had that. And I couldn't think of a better guy to be tooling around on a little D Live and making sense of it. They were in just before the shutdown, and they were demoing some stuff, trying to get us involved. And I think the D Live's a pretty great console. Has a lot of purpose and
for sure.
ability. Excuse me. Let me ask you, buddy. Here at the show, we're interested in the origin story. Kind of the bones of how you got into this game.
Cool. Well, I wanted to mix records for Queen. That's really how it all started.
Who did it?
I just wanted to know how they did that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, listen to that Tom Phil. Listen to that, those 9 guitar sounds in this one song. Like, how did they do that? So in the late 70s, I've actually been revisiting the Jazz album from like 77 or something. That was like high school for me, and just unbelievable.
Classic album.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I didn't even really think about live. I didn't even really sort of know that was a thing that sound people did. I thought you just went and made records. So I took a recording class and in Vancouver at Columbia School of Broadcasting, and just happened to drive a friend of mine to a audition to join a local band in Vancouver. He got the gig. I threw it out on the way out the door that I'm going to recording school, so if you need a sound man. And the next thing you know, I left my $14 an hour grocery store gig, and I made $20 my first week mixing a bar band. So that's how that started.
Yeah, well, that is a very common story. I know my beginnings were very, very similar. Bar bands, stinky buildings with bad equipment, and in the '80s getting it going on. I was digging around in your stuff. I noticed we have many mutual friends, but one that is absolutely I adore. I can't get enough of him. I know you were out on the Flesh and Blood tour with Poison, working with the great Scotty Ross. So it's kind of a two-tier question. How was it like working with Poison and the great Scotty Ross?
Yeah, I had met Scotty briefly before that. He was working with Yngwie Malmsteen, and that
Looking
was
at
like
my phone, not even on the computer.
Whoa!
What happened, Mikey?
That sounded like Scotty Ross.
Kind of did, didn't it?
That was kind of. I was like, wow.
It was Mikey. I think it was our executive producer. You were saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's cool. We got to work together a little bit, and then on Poison, he was the tour manager on that, and we got through it. I'm gonna say that. It wasn't always fun every night, but Scotty was such a gentleman, and when the tour was over, he just kind of pulled me aside and whispered in my ear and said, "Hey, Jimmy, I got one in the pipeline. Got one coming. I want to bring you along." Yeah. And it was Van Halen, and he got the Van Halen tour manager gig.
That is so sweet.
Brought me in and changed my life.
Yeah.
1991.
Yeah. I know that you've said in the past that touring with Van Halen was probably your favorite touring of all the tours that you've done. Yeah. What made it so special?
Well, gosh, honestly, above and beyond was the crew. We just had a brotherhood of people, and to this day, I call those guys quite a bit.
Yeah.
We just did a little presentation recently, a kind of a big Zoom chat with a bunch of ex.
Did you have
ex,
Maddie
crew
on
guys.
the was Maddie involved?
No, Maddie wasn't. Maddie didn't join. We had Rob Kern, we had Mario Lachesi, Patrick Ledwith, John Ostrin.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
It was
that's a
it
who's
was
who.
a cast of characters. It was really fun, and we Frank Scamboni was the host of that event, so it was really fun. But yeah, it was. We still talk about it. We kind of nicknamed it the Camelot Tour, that 1991 tour, because it was just the best environment. The music, of course, was amazing. I started out doing monitors on that tour. Johnny Ostrin was mixing front of house, and then later down the road, I moved to the front of house position. But it was 8 years of just working for the coolest band, listening to the best music every night, and it was amazing time.
Wow, absolutely amazing. I did read you wrote an incredibly touching and very poignant memorial to Eddie Van Halen and Pro Soundweb. It was clear that his passing affected you. How are you doing on that?
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, I started off by making it pretty clear that it's still okay to really miss someone when you haven't been in touch for a while. You know, just in our careers, we sort of didn't work together after the 1998 tour, but you know, it touched me so much how important it was to me at that time, and how much of a friendship and a bond we built during those 8 years. And just like everyone else, when you lose an absolute genius of an artist like that, the whole world mourns, you know.
He was one of a kind. I don't think I was just in a guitar argument with some pretty heavy guitarists today. It wasn't really an argument; it was kind of a back and forth. And one of them said, "This is a day or two ago." He said, "I don't think anybody's going to surpass it. You know, there's so much has been done, depending on some technology shift maybe, but as it stands, that's kind of that's the high point." And it was hard to come up with an argument that said that wasn't the case. And so, yeah, he'll be sorely missed. I remember you mentioning, you got to relay this because of the current events. Tiger Woods came to your board at a Van Halen show, and you had you exchanged some information with him. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, that was awesome. One of the cool things about the Van Halen tour was we were all into golf. You know, all of us. We would look forward to our days off, and we'd get at least 2 foursomes out just about every day off. And Scotty would hook us up on some really nice courses, and we would invite the tour players to come see shows, and those guys just love to hang out. And I won't name any names, but there was always a cooler of beer right in front of house, and I never sit to mix the show, so my big cushy chair was always for whatever golf god was hanging around.
Right.
And so one of these golfers who used to come a lot was Mark O'Meara, who was buddies with Tiger.
Sure.
So we kept bugging Mark to bring Tiger to the show sometime. So Atlanta, he finally came, and he just was, he's just a student of everything, student of golf, obviously, but he just wanted to soak it up, and he ended up kind of working his way over by where I was mixing sound check, and he just wanted to ask me what that knob does. What are you doing here? What is this? Why are you moving these faders? What's happening here? So it was a pretty cool thing. I played golf since I was 3 years old, and I absolutely love the game. And for me, it was my rock stars were these guys hanging out at shows. So I really appreciated that. Yeah.
Well, we hope that he's going to, recover quickly and be okay.
Yeah.
I guess he's got a long road. Some of the injuries are pretty substantial, but we hope that he'll be fine soon. But what a great memory.
Yeah, for sure.
Talked about your time mixing with Journey. Was that also Scotty Ross related?
Scotty came a little later, not right at first.
Mm-hmm.
That was my good buddy Rob Kern, who was tour manager and PM with Journey, and he had called me once before to try to get me in there, and the timing just didn't work out, and they went with someone else. And then he called me a second time, and I was like, okay, man, not going to let this slip. This is a career favorite band of mine.
Yeah.
And so,
What
got the
era
gig
was
in
this?
2012.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that was not too far. Gosh, that's coming up on 10 years. man.
Goes to show you, dude. Don't stop believing.
That's,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's always with the low hanging fruit. You know, you just pull that right off the one closest to the ground. Good boy.
oh man, you might have to go your separate ways from Kyle here soon if you don't. No, it was a great opportunity. I was very excited when Rob offered it to me, and I can honestly tell you my first show was in Southern California, down near San Diego, and we had done a week or so of rehearsals, and that first night when faithfully when and it occurs to me, I don't know how many people wonder about this, but all the audio engineers out there will know this. When you're mixing a song like that,
Yeah.
and that's something that was a part of your childhood, the hair on your arm stands up. It's
Absolutely.
it's amazing experience. So I really enjoyed my time there, and I wish I could have kept going.
Well, and they're one of the bands that I will, to their credit, that they bring a pretty true renditions. They don't tend to redo their work. They kind of bring it and they try to play close to Neil. I think this is Neil's directive. His nature is to kind of bring it as true to form as he can, and they reproduce
takes
so
you
well.
back.
Yeah. It's a time machine, I imagine. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. It's an absolute treat. Those guys are a lot of fun, and we're lucky to have them right here in the Bay Area as well. You did monitors for one of the trickier bands in the game, for Aerosmith. I know this.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
That was very cool. I actually got that gig because of my time spent in the mid '80s. I did a few years working with DB Sound and Harry Witz and Bruce
Sure.
Gordon and Bruce Judd and all those guys in Chicago, and I was just getting started in the States. So at times things would get slow in the winters and stuff. I'd go back to Canada, mix a few bar bands again, and then I actually went and saw an Aerosmith show because I just wanted to say hi to my DB Sound friends, and they pulled me aside and said, "Hey, look, we need a guy who doesn't drink much." This is a dry
right?
tour.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They were all
And
trying to be clean on that. I remember very well. Yeah.
So they said, if you can come out here and not drink for a while, you can have the gig. And I said, man, I can stop drinking for as long as you want to do monitors for Aerosmith. So that was my way in, and I had worked with DB long enough to kind of know everyone there and stuff. So I got to mix the band, and my friend Billy Head was mixing Steven's wedges. Now this was all wedges, and it was 36 mixes of wedges all over the stage, and we just followed these guys around with matrices. And
my
it was
goodness, that
pretty
sounds
exciting.
a little bit of a labor. Yeah, and they behaved, and you guys got along well.
Yeah, it was actually really, really nice. And one of my favorite moments ever was like night 4 of mixing, and Joe Perry just kind of looks over and goes and gives me a nod like that, and I was like, man, that's a career moment right there. You got the nod from Joe Perry. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing. Yeah, and you kind of came to them, I think, probably in a time when they were kind of more in a professional place, and they're really trying to, and they were getting that second chance. Pump was such a huge tour. I mean, that was a gigantic album, and they had kind of went off the map, and they had, it built a little bit of a reputation. So what a blessing. That must have been really enjoyable.
Yeah, it was, and I got to say, it was a pretty calm time. Like, it was just a regular gig. There wasn't a lot of crazy drama that we ever saw anyway. It was really, really nice to be a part of that team.
Yeah, that had to be a real treat. Talk to us about you. How did you start working with Peter Frampton? I mean, you talk about guitar legends.
Oh my gosh!
Right? I mean,
and a very fine gentleman.
He is a sweetheart of a guy. He's I've only known him to be pleasant. I've never had a weird moment with him, not once.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fill-in gig actually. I was I had decided to move to South Carolina. I had an offer to go to work for a church organization in South Carolina and kind of get off the road for a while. And so I was kind of, 4, 5, 6 months into my church gig, and the phone rings, and it's my friend Joel, who was the PM, and he said, "Hey, I know you got this new gig, but any chance you can sneak out for 2.5 weeks? I need someone to fill in on at front of house." Um, so it was all good. I had kind of arranged it when I went into my church gig that I could run off every now and then to the circus just to, keep myself in the game.
Sure.
And so they let me go, and I went and jumped in there for 2.5 weeks. It was a different PA every day, but we had our little control package, and it was just the best band to mix. I mean, these guys sound so good. I don't know if you've seen a show lately, but that is just the most dynamic, giving a sound guy exactly what he wants kind of thing out of front of house. And every time I ever got a compliment, I would turn it right back to the band and Peter's sound is just phenomenal.
He's a legend. Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure that Frampton Comes Alive was like issued to the suburbs. If you moved into the suburbs, that album was issued to you. It was a seminal. This is how you record live. He's an extraordinary guitarist.
Yeah.
Did you see?
To this day, that album just still sounds like what a live concert's supposed to sound like.
Exactly. I mean, it's really a testament to what can be done.
Yeah.
And it's when the young folks today will kind of bark or bitch or moan, I'll flip that on and say, no, look, this is 76, man.
Yeah.
This is what can be done. Don't tell me what can't be done. It's absolutely amazing. And he tends to surround himself with some serious players. I mean, he's when you're Peter Frampton. Did you see his guitar recently? It was found, the one that went down in the plane crash, 30 years ago.
Yeah, he got it back,
He
right?
got his guitar back. I mean, this is a $40,000 Les Paul,
Yeah, that's an unbelievable story. And I got a copy of his book in the fall last year that he sent to all of us in the crew. And this is the way the guy thinks. It's just, the guys would appreciate it. Says a nice thing, signs it. Yeah. And, I had kind of been off my reading kick for a while. I hadn't really read a book, and I tore that thing up in like 5 nights. I just read that whole book, and it's just a really interesting book if you haven't.
I haven't read it.
Yeah.
You recommend
it's
it?
Great.
I'm going to take your advice on that.
There you go.
Yeah, and you're not trying to make us look bad because you know how to read, right? Because you think it's a shot at you, Kyle. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh man, it takes you do now language to read manuals all day. Let me tell you,
we get it done after a while.
It's all zeros and ones. It's all zeros and ones.
They're really good at that. The ones and zero thing they got.
Yeah.
It's okay. I've been reading that Bob Katz mastering book. I think I talked about this a couple of shows ago, but it's like one of those things I've fucking read
Goldthwait?
like 4 times. And I still am just like, ugh, too dense.
We did a tour with him. This is a quick aside. We did a thing. This is the Nirvana heart-shaped box, and it was with Butthole Surfers and Nirvana, right? This is, it was kind of a traumatic time in rock and roll, and we're out with them. And Bobcat Goldthwait is the MC. It was something, man. I don't even know. I don't even really know how to speak to it, but that happened, and it was very interesting. He's a very interesting young man.
I think he was up in Canada on Canada Day one day, July 1st, at a festival I was at, and was introducing a bunch of bands. So I don't know if he's Canadian or not, but he was there. So.
Well, they let anybody in, it seems like. So, where they screw up is they let the good guys out. I don't know how the hell they let you go, but we'll take the win on that one. Yeah.
I just grabbed my toboggan. I headed
to the backwoods.
I headed down to the Maple Curtain, and they let me through. So there you go.
Yeah, they're very sweet and giving that way. Like I said to you earlier before we got on the show, we had Dave Ronan last week, who I adore, and he's Canadian export, and we got Bernie Broderick over here on the other side of the curtain. We're surrounded by Canadians, and we're, I think, better for it. So it's a good thing. I hear congratulations are due, my friend. You have taken on a new position as the audio director at Solotech.
Yes, thank you, sir.
What an
Friendly
amazing-
competition across the across the country.
Yeah. You guys stay over there. And
We'll be over there. Don't worry about it.
what a win for them, though. Really, to get the great Jim Yakabuski, and
Thank
they got the Yak in the house, and that's just wonderful. Are you excited?
I am. I actually can't believe how much fun I'm having. And soon we'll do gigs, and I'll do more of what they hired me for. But right now it's a lot of just getting my legs under me and kind of, meeting everyone. There's a lot of people, a lot of locations and stuff. So it's been really fun, and they're just really good people. And I hate to throw the Canadian card again, but some good Canadian backbone there. So
Yeah. Now, again, the Canadians got it sorted, and so good for you and good for them and good for the industry.
Thank you.
We are, like you mentioned, where there's a little friendly competition there, but really at the end of the day, if you got a good heart, you want everybody to win. And
For sure. And we all, especially now, we all want each other to win for a while here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we'll get back to tooth and nail maybe next year, but right now, we'd like to see all the good guys land on their feet. So it's just
Thank you
great
very
news.
much.
Congratulations, sir. You're working with the great Eddie Capo. He's a friend of the show. We love the guy. I know that you spent time with him with the Iglesias, maybe?
No, actually with Gwen Stefani. So, yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. Eddie is a dear friend. And if he happens to be listening, it's 10:26 on the East Coast. So, Eddie, 10:45 at Blondie's in Planet Hollywood. I'll see you there.
You heard him. Maybe show up.
Yeah, he's a good man. He has a huge heart, and he's just one of my favorite people. I love Eddie.
Yeah.
And a heck of a monitor engineer. So
Yeah, one of the best, and just the heart on the guy's like the size of a Buick. I mean, he's just such a sweetheart. He's a great father. He's just incredible. We really enjoy him a great deal, and I thought I would mention your guys' association. He's a good guy.
that's awesome. Yeah, he's one of my newest best friends for sure.
Looks like Robert Wilcox is asking us. He said, "Well, I guess I'll be giving you a call sooner than later." Did he ask us an earlier question? Because we don't want to shine Robert Wilcox.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Man.
No, I do not want to put him on pause. He's the man. And yeah, it looks like he looked forward to seeing you. It looks like that. Some subject we were talking about that he said you guys have worked. It's clear that you guys have worked together a few times. And
DB Sound, we spent some time together for sure. And he was, the last time I saw him, my console was broke, and he was he was there helping me with my broke console. So there you go.
He's kind of
name any
mention.
brands or anything.
Yeah, he's kind of that guy. Yeah. We'd be really lucky to have
good people.
Yes, sir. You wrote a book. Correct me if I'm wrong. You wrote a book about professional sound reinforcement techniques.
Yep.
What's that called?
That was that's it. That's the name.
Professional sound reinforcement techniques.
Yeah, that's it.
How do we
Tips and
get our
tricks
hands
of
on
a
it?
concert sound engineer? Yeah.
How do we get people get that book? You're probably one of the best live art, front of house mixers in the game. I think a lot of people would love to get their hands on that.
Well, it circulated pretty well for the most of the first decade of the 2000s, and then it went out of print and it started to get hard to get. So, but I had a friend from Calgary text me the other day with a little attachment to an Amazon link that showed it said one book available, new, $524. I was like, wow, here we go. Someone's running the price up on these things. So
it's just that good, Jim.
Yes, yeah. If you can find it on Amazon and you have $524, it's yours.
That's the place to go.
But people say, I've had one of the coolest things about doing something like that is when someone comes up to you years and years and years later and says, "Man, I remember when I was reading your book and there was this one page and it was about keeping a vocal, above the rest of the musicality in a mix, and I never forgot that, and I use that technique all the time." And I mean, that's the win right there. That's the win when somebody references reading it at some point in their career, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very cool.
Very special, definitely. You make some instructional videos for the internet. What's the process with that?
Yeah, I hit the ground running in April when all this happened, and I have my little D-Live console here, and I said, I got to do something. Let's go. So I write an article for Live Sound International called Talk and Yak, and so I made a couple little videos called Talk and Yak Live, and it was just basically me talking through one of the lessons from my article. And then I used some Matchbox 20 music for that, some live recorded tracks to demonstrate some cool guitar routing and stuff like that. And then I did one more all about time aligning two similar inputs, like two kick drums or bass guitar and bass DI and mic kind of thing, and used some Frampton music for that. So it's fun because it's like a 10-minute video lesson, but there's always some cool music that gets used for the demonstration, and then I do a fun little outro with some photos. So if you go to Yak Sound on YouTube, you can check out my videos. Yeah.
Yak Sound on YouTube. You heard it here, folks. Definitely go there. It's a good read. I just had my good friend Charlie Zaricki send me a note saying that he will send me your book. And Charlie Zaricki is our godfather here. And Charlie, I can't wait, buddy. By the way, there's a box coming to you too. It should be there by Saturday. It's a big bunch of treats from the gang, so we hope you enjoy that. But yeah, apparently I'm going to get my hands on your book.
Okay.
And then I'm going to sell it for about $600. So,
there you go. The prices, I just checked back in. It's up to $564 now. So you're gonna
oh man, it's just that good, Jim.
That one book
makes sense to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have one main tip? Pooch is big on this. He's got kind of like you start out with a certain parameters before you hit the ground running. He's got lots of tips. Do you have one tip that you would say is probably the most important tip for an upcoming audio engineer?
Wow. Well, as far this is more conceptual, but I think the biggest thing I've learned over all these years is to if you want your inputs to sound good, if you want your individual channels to sound good, the PA has to sound good.
Yeah.
And so I have become a real, I've focused the last half of my career definitely on becoming a good tuner and balancer and optimizer of PA systems, so that when you walk around an arena, I want it to sound the same every seat, same level, same sonic spectrum, and same amount of sub, as many seats as I can get it to be the same. And then when I turn that vocal up, I don't have to do a whole lot of stuff to it. It'll sound good. So.
Well, you set the bar high, my friend, because that is a tricky thing to negotiate.
It is.
It's doable. It is doable, like you mentioned, but it does take a lot of extra work. And, it seems to be something you kind of hit and miss. You can go to certain shows and, sure. The guys are, I won't name names, but, trying to peel your face off. And, if you're in the wings and you can barely feel any kick or,
it's definitely a merriment between front of house and the system tech for the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no two ways about that. And I think that's something hopefully that you're seeing more and more of. The last Tool show that came out was extraordinary, and Tool was known for kind of peeling, the paint. And they came out and took a different approach, and they brought it big and loud and strong at amplitude, but clean and sweet and intelligible. It was really enjoyable experience.
It is a good time to be a sound engineer.
Yeah.
Well, except for the past year. But moving forward, it's a
with that caveat, yeah.
But it's, we all had to arm wrestle a lot of PAs in the, in my early years in the 80s and into the 90s, and then it's just gotten so much better. The one thing that gets guys is if your mix isn't together, the PAs are so accurate that your not great mix is put out there for the world.
Yeah, it'll be on blast. You'll see that too. So yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah. You're so not wrong. You mentioned a minute ago that you used some of your stems from your live stuff from Matchbox 20 as teaching tools. How was it working with Matchbox 20 and Rob Thomas?
Oh my gosh, great!
He's a sweet guy.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
real sweet guys, great players, and great songs. I mean, what the catalog? We did a tour in 2017. They hadn't toured together in 6 years or so, and I got to go and do that. And we're in rehearsals, and they just first day of rehearsal they went through the first album. Second day of rehearsal they went through the second album, and they just played each album all the way through, live in rehearsal. And I mean, it's just such a great pile of songs. And so
Yeah.
every night to get to mix the hits, but also the deep cuts was such a pleasure.
Well, he's a sweet guy. We had him out with Santana, if you remember the Supernatural thing, and that was an absolute treat. He's incredibly talented and very, very good at what he does. A great lyricist as well. Talk to us about your Mix Institute project. Is that still a concern? Is that still going on?
Yeah, we had a head of steam, and when the quarantine and stuff first happened, I thought, okay, this is like the timing is great to move forward with this because, people aren't working. And so we actually have engineers sitting around who would love to, go to these workshops that we put together. And they're really, the idea of the school is that there's plenty of platforms out there where you can learn audio 101. You can maybe learn a little audio 201. You can kind of, you can learn what an XLR is and how to mic an instrument. But I wanted to kind of mold the school into a place where you can learn to be a better mixer of music. You can actually kind of move past the bass stuff and move into some of the techniques that people have been doing it a long time to pull a mix together and make it really great. So that was where the Mix Institute came from.
It sounds like a very valid project, and people should check into that. How can they find you with that institute?
That's it's themixinstitute.com.
Very straightforward.
Yeah.
No,
you
can see that.
You can click on. There's a couple links there where you can click if you're interested in attending a workshop or hosting a workshop, and you can click on those, and I'll answer you back, and we go from there.
Wow, that sounds like a really a winner. I got to ask you, we're messing around here in the shop with some of the old, EX56s and some of the fun stuff that we came up with, and of course at the same exact time, just on this side of my show is a couple folks working on an S6L32. You got a preference for analog or digital?
I would love to mix a show on an analog desk again. It's just not something that happens much anymore. But I certainly enjoyed the Midas years. Oh my gosh, man!
Absolutely.
I got to
H3000.
mix on XL4s. Yep, for sure. And it seems like a very long period of time was spent on those consoles, those Midas consoles. I did get to mix a Ted Nugent tour way back in the mid 90s on an EX56 Gamble, and man, that I can't believe you got a couple sitting there. I'm gonna have to catch my first flight in 11 and a half months just to come out and see your Gamble.
You are welcome
awesome.
Here anytime, Mr. Yakabuski. That board will be available and ready, outboard gear fired up, and you can do your worst. Yeah,
That's great.
We'll push up any rig in the house that you'd like, and you can have fun with it.
I'm coming. Coming.
Yeah, don't threaten us with a good time, brother. We'll call that fair. We'll call that in. So you're cool either way, but you recognize it's kind of the way of the dodo a little bit in the sense of current goings on.
Yeah, size wise,
footprint, weight.
Footprint, weight.
Yeah,
and just a lot of those Van Halen years in the 90s, we would go to Europe and we would do the festival stuff in the summers. And, I was still analog back then, but man, I mean, how many times do you have to chart a console on a piece of paper and wait your turn again and get, in behind the guy just finishing his show and fix all the knobs again? It got to the point where it was like, when someone said you can store your show on a thumb drive, I was definitely interested in
You
that.
found that very attractive, that option.
Yeah, it saves a bit of time.
That makes perfect sense. We totally understand that. You mentioned that you worked with Mr. Nugent, Mr. Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
How'd you find that experience?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I learned a lot about bow hunting. And
I bet you did.
yeah, it was kind of crazy. Like one of the coolest things about that was, standard post sound check, after dinner activities backstage are usually, people hanging around talking and stuff. Ted would have a full on like bow hunting range in the backstage area. He'd have a couple of the rubberized, deer with the bullseyes on them, and the crew would be out there with these just $100 bows and arrows and just shooting rubber deer in the back. Not a regular VIP meet and greet, but
A little. He definitely comes at things almost across the board a little different. When you were with Matchbox 20, did you have the luck to work with Mr. Benny Collins?
no, I did not.
My brother just sent that out. We're big fans here. Vinny passed not too long ago, but he was Journey and Madonna and Bowie, and he was one of the best PMs of all time. So we had to reach in and see if we had any Benny Collins memories because he was such a character.
I worked with him 2004 through to maybe 2010 area, and then had that break until 2017. I hadn't worked with him, so.
Well, it's right about when he had passed. Yeah, his last loadout was spectacular. It was just a Herbie Herbert and everybody and their mother. It's kind of heartbreaking, to tell stories of the old days with a legend like that. He was a kind of an institution. On the Ted Nugent thing, I would have been. Catering is such an integral part to our craft services, to our existence. That one I would have been really kept an eye on what they were serving. Imagine anything that was live that went past him, he'd take down and put on a barbecue.
Oh yeah.
Charlie said Jim ate all the sushi at the Detroit Auto Show.
Was that you, Jim? Did you do that? Charlie's he's calling you out, I think, right now. Charlie's Ricky.
It's frozen sushi up there at the time of the auto show. You gotta pull it out of the river and thaw it for a while first before it's any good.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the Great White North. You know how it is up there. And my sweet Jackie from Slow Fibers checked in. Hello, Jackie. I'm in love with you, dear. All right, I'm just throwing that out there. Hey, I want to jigger a thought from your brain here.
Okay.
I'm going to give you I'm going to load it up and see if it does anything for you.
Okay.
Barcelona, beer on the board.
Oh God.
Tell me about it.
Great
You're in
story.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Somebody puts a beer on your console.
Yeah. No, the beer was launched
shit.
from the audience.
Oh, man.
Like, just imagine, a cup of beer coming in at 45 degrees from a really long distance away and landing right on the VCA section of a Soundcraft Europa.
Oh, geez.
And Jody Perpick was mixing the show. And he said later that he thought a bomb went off because it splashed up in his face and, stung his eyes. And he thought it was, something that was going to hurt him a lot more than a beer. But, man, it was nuts. I mean, for the next minute and a half, you could just hear the PA sizzling because, half of it was petering out and the other half got really loud and so we got the hair dryers out and stuff, but the only way we could continue the show was, and this is a testament to analog, we had an XLR fan out snake, so we just unplugged them all, rolled the opening act console into place, and one of my Solotech partners, Dean Roney, he took 10 channels, I took 10 channels, and Jody took 10 channels, and we had the band just start the next song, and we each dialed in 10 channels, and then just stepped back and let Jody take over. But it was a a bad moment in rock and roll when,
Very,
kids don't throw your beers at the sound guys.
yeah. What the hell? But yeah,
Yeah.
it is in many ways very rock and roll, though. I mean, we got to,
It was.
Yeah. I remember back in the day in the old utility cases, the young guys would say, "Well, what's the hair dryers for?" Say emergencies.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, bound to happen.
Yeah.
I've seen a few wet consoles.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to ask you. I know today you did the live production event. That was you mentioned that you had a good time with that, and you were working with the boys from Signal to Noise podcast, which of course is Michael Lawrence and Chris Leonard and Kyle Burnside, and doing shows like this. My show and others. What's your take on that? There's a bunch of us out there right now, kind of. I wouldn't say competing, but kind of doing slight different versions of the same.
Sure.
And what's your take on us guys, pushing these shows out and, reaching out to guys like you to be our guest?
Yeah, I love it. I know in the last, since, the calendar year flipped over and we're all just so antsy to get back to it. And we really believe we will get back to it soon instead of kind of last year where, but I know, especially in the beginning, speaking for myself, and I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of people, but just the hunger to just talk about what we do. That's where those videos came from. That's where the school really ramped up in my writing for the magazines and stuff. I just wanted to stay dialoguing about live sound and the people who do it. And, everyone was getting their smart operator certificates and their Dante certification, and shows like this. I mean, the Pooch and Raybold show and things like that. Like, it's awesome to just hear people talking about, the stuff they do and the thing that they love and passing on tricks at no cost. It's great stuff.
Yeah. Have you had an opportunity to do the Pooch and Tater thing yet?
No, I haven't.
Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Oh, I would love to.
It's a great show, and I'm sure they'll be calling you soon. That's a lot of fun. But yeah, you're not wrong. When this first all transpired, and you mentioned this earlier, we were kind of thinking, okay, we're going to be stalled for a few months here. We've seen the shows come off the calendar and so on. I don't think anybody imagined it would last this long.
No.
And now it does kind of seem maybe it's knock on wood, but it seems like maybe there is a little light at the end of the tunnel, and some things are starting to kind of pop up. And like I mentioned, we had a band in here just last night, and so
great.
Hopefully very soon we'll be back to doing what we do and what we love.
Yeah.
But this was a kind of a stopgap thing that we were, to just kind of keep it alive, allow the kids to keep playing with the toys and talk to our friends and kind of recreate that moment that you kind of mentioned, like between sound check and doors. Where you're with your friends, you're telling stories, and so
gotta have it. I mean, and just one thing about being on tour all the time. I know for me, I'm a social guy and I love to hang out. And days off are so important, But I'll usually spend the first 2/3 of my day off on the road, just going for a quiet walk by myself or playing golf or doing something like that. And then the evening I want to get together with all my buds and hang out. But when you don't get that, when you have months and months of that not happening, this is where you come and meet your buds, So
exactly.
I think it's been really awesome for you to be doing this and for everyone else who gives their own, free time up to keep us all connected, man. It's a great thing.
Well, thank you, and we really enjoy the process of kind of building this up and what it takes to get to this point where we're actually interviewing a person like yourself. It's I think it's important to kind of the spirits can get a little down in the dumps sometimes for some of the folks, and we just need to remind them who they are, and what we do, and why we do it. We're a little bit of a no bad bunch. Listen, my friend, I know that that you work with your church. And that you've been doing this for quite some time. Talk to us about that process. How is it different than what you do in the rock and roll game?
These days it's not all that much different. I mean, the PAs are big, huge lighting rigs, video walls, foggers, It's like a full,
Your
you know,
church
and
got
then
fog. They got haze, really. That's
yeah, oh yeah, man, they don't play around.
That's awesome.
And then like Wednesday night is the youth, the youth ministry, and it's like a rave. I mean, it's
Wow.
full on kick and pumping, tons of subs. So, when I first went to actually check out one of their services up here in Anderson, South Carolina,
Yes, sir.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe how much like a concert it was. Even a Sunday service is, people are praising and being in a worshipful place, but it's 100 dB, man. It's
Wow.
it's fully happening, So, I love it. It's actually the last couple months I've mixed at several Sundays here and there across the state of South Carolina, and it's the only game in town. It's the only mixing I get to do that's not in a pair of near fields. That's actually through a PA with people in the audience and stuff. So it's been great.
No, that's that's a great outlet to have, and it is just a show with a message, really.
Absolutely.
Especially
yeah.
the kind of mega churches that really put it on, really bring a big show, and whatever it takes to get the message out. I guess is you got to support that.
Yeah, and the people love it. It's the motto of this church was, this is the church for people who don't like to go to church, that's kind of what their attitude was like. Let's make it fun like a concert, and people will want to come, and it's been a great model for them.
Oh, well, I'm glad that's working out, and I think you're right that a lot of folks that's been their outlet. The folks that do what we do, and they had that to go to, and that's pretty precious. So.
Yeah.
Got to appreciate that. I know you've worked with a fellow Canadian, I almost said that wrong. Avril Lavigne. I was going to say Average Lavigne.
You say that so much, man.
Just
Stop
me.
it.
But she's actually a very talented young lady. What was it like working with Avril Lavigne? Excuse me.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man. Fuck.
I know. That's why we edit these things and don't do them live.
Well,
no, wait, what?
Some part of the live is the flavor, though, Jim. You got to admit.
That's right.
I need that energy. I need to be able to kind of know you're going to fall flat. Last week, my mic came off, right in the middle of an interview. So it made it feel much more like a live, real show. So I kind of thrive on that, frankly.
No, it was great, actually. And it was a good bunch of Canadians, too. The network management folks, Dan Fraser and oh my gosh, just so many great Canadians who were part of her management and the cruise. And so it was a really nice bunch of people to work with. I kind of stepped in halfway through her first tour. She was 17. Her parents were still on the road with her because she wasn't 18 yet, she was so young, but she was packing out arenas. So it was really fun. And, I got to just be asked back several times. So I worked for her for almost 8 years, and it was a really good time. My some of these people I work with, my kids go, "Oh, Dad, you don't want to work for them." And then, it's like, "Oh, Avril. Okay, great. Yeah, this is good." So they got to go to shows and meet her and all that. And she was always so sweet to my kids, signing stuff.
She's actually a very lovely young lady, and
sure
what she was able to do when she first came down the chute was kind of amazing. I mean, she blew right up and went big, and that was an impressive effort. And it's good to see people win. So good for you, good for her.
Yeah, I'm glad she's feeling better too, because she's been ready to tour. I think she did some stuff not too long ago, and she was getting ready to go back to Asia when all this happened. So I think she's looking to do some more touring, which is great. Means she's feeling better, which is wonderful to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Listen, I know you've been doing this a long time. I know you're very mindful of the goings on and what surrounds you. What do you think the future holds for our industry, my friend?
Well, I know people have missed live music, and we were in a very long stretch of good stuff. We had tours making money. We had tons and tons of shows you could see every summer, and people can tend to go, well, I'm not going to go see that band. I just saw 4 shows last month, and I'm going to skip them this time and stuff. I think if you have favorite bands right now, like people are, when we get to go back to shows, people are going to pack these places out. They are going to be so excited to hear live music again. And I've actually kind of imagined, Matchbox and Rob was always so good at just showing the love to the audience, and I've actually kind of had it in my mind because we were supposed to tour last year, all through the summer, and I'm hoping we get to do that again soon. But I think my moment of looking forward to that first show back is going to be Rob just kind of looking out at an amphitheater full of people and saying, "We're back, people. Here we are.
We made it.
This is the moment."
Yeah.
And it's just going to be like 10 minutes of applause, people applauding for ourselves for getting through this. And I think it's going to be a wonderful resurgence. And I think people are going to recommit their efforts to going out and seeing their favorite artists and supporting them and showing love.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, that would be a beautiful experience, and I don't think you're wrong. I think there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of people very excited to get back in the mix. I imagine the Matchbox 20 show was postponed opposed to canceled, so similar to what Def Leppard and Motley did, and Disturbed and many others. So hopefully we'll be hitting that cycle real soon.
Yeah, I hope so. There's, we're getting close to. Losing our summer touring, and I hope we can find a way to at least get some shows going. If we can't have regular touring schedules, we get it, but sure would be nice to have some festivals pop up and some things happen where shows start to happen again. And I'm hopeful that it will.
Fingers crossed, my friend. It was an absolute treat and honor to have you on the show, Jim. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your experiences with us. We can't tell you how appreciative we are. Just absolutely a treat.
Yeah, thank you, Jim.
Thank you for having me. Kyle, Vince, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We wish you much luck in the future. Not that you'll need it. You ride strictly on personality and talent, but we hope to see you out on the road sometime soon, my friend.
Thank you. I'm coming over there. I get that EX56 shined up. I'm on my way.
It's up right now, baby. Hey, watch out what you wish for, because we're ready
I'll stop by and play around a bit, and then I'll meet you at Blondie's. I'll be there soon, man.
Very cool. Have a great night. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Hey, listen, what a great interview. We're so lucky to have friends like Jim. It was wonderful to see him this evening.
Such a gentleman.
He's really the consummate professional, and his career is a roadmap for anybody coming up to follow the highlights of that and how to get there from here.
Cool. Charlie's sending us his books.
I'm Charlie. I am going to read that book. I'm going to enjoy it a great deal, and then promptly sell it to one of my friends. So
I'll photocopy it. Don't worry.
Sarah also, because that is a little bit of gold he's talking about. So, and of course Charlie has it, because that's Charlie for you. Charlie's goes without very infrequently. Listen, it's a pleasure getting to see you this week, and thanks for tuning in, coming to our show. Next week, we've got an amazing guest. We got the great Lee Brinkman. Now, if you've been in the business, you know who Lee is. If you don't, let me explain. Lee is in the game 50 years. In 1968, that's 53 years ago.
I was just a thought. I don't even think I was a thought.
I was born in 68. He was at the Avalon Ballroom with the Deads. I mean, he's a legend in the game. He's worked for everybody from Van Morrison, Elvis Costello, Ry Cooder. I mean, really, like, legends in the game. And we need to know for Robert Wilcox, if you got that bus key, Jim, by the way? You, Robert?
It never gets old.
Yeah, I know. He help himself. He's another low-hanging fruit guy. That's for the easy ones. Anyways, it was absolutely a treat. I'm very please tune in next week. We got the great Lee Brinkman. He's the history of rock and roll. He really is. There ain't nothing that he hasn't seen and done. It'll be absolutely fascinating to talk with him. He'll be in the house with us, and we do it for you. We hope you guys are good out there. We appreciate you very much. I want to thank my crew and the people here at Sound Image. We're very lucky to be here, and we're very appreciative. And until then, try to be kind, be good to each other, and we'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on Thursday at Beyond the Backstage Pass. Have a good night. Thank you. Good night. Yeah.